The hush fell over Kingsley's dining hall like a thunderclap in reverse. Glasses froze mid-air, forks hung in stunned silence. Dozens of eyes snapped to the narrow aisle between the velvet chairs, where a 10-year-old boy in steel leg braces was rising to his feet. Lucas Montgomery's knees trembled as he extended his hand, not to his father or a family member, but to Diana Johnson, the only black waitress in the city's most exclusive restaurant. The live pianist had just begun a soft, swaying tune. Something in the melody must have stirred Lucas's spirit. "Sir, control your son," barked the manager, Mr. Thornton, slicing through the moment like a dagger. "This is not a dance hall. Our employees are not here to entertain children." Richard Montgomery, CEO of Montgomery Investments, a man whose net worth commanded fear, felt his throat tighten. It was the first time he'd taken Lucas out in public since the accident that stole his son's mobility, and with it, his joy. "Lucas, sit down," Richard ordered, voice low, strained. But Diana didn't move. Her gaze drifted from the boy's outstretched hand to the stone-faced billionaire. "I'm off shift," she said, quietly, untying her apron. Then, to the breathless disbelief of everyone watching, she took Lucas's hand. "I can't dance in an apron," she whispered, smiling. "What do you think you're doing?" Richard stood so fast his chair screeched. "I'm accepting an invitation, sir," Diana replied, calmly, firmly. Lucas dragged his foot forward, metal braces groaning. Diana didn't correct him. She matched his pace, clumsy, imperfect, but his. "She'll be fired by morning," a woman hissed at the next table. Richard couldn't speak. A memory stabbed through his mind. His late wife, Elizabeth, twirling with Lucas in their living room, whispering, "It's not about perfection, it's about connection." For the first time in years, Lucas wasn't being helped, he was leading. Mr. Thornton leaned in, eyes narrowed. "She'll be dealt with." But Richard didn't answer. Not yet. Diana led Lucas through 3 simple steps, then bowed. "Thank you for asking me. It was an honor." She turned to leave. "Wait," Richard called, his voice strange in his own mouth. "What's your full name?" "Diana Johnson, sir." He reached into his jacket and handed her a business card. "My office, 10 a.m. tomorrow." Her hand trembled, just slightly, as she accepted it. "Dad, why'd you do that?" Richard looked at his son, really looked, and realized that for 2 years he had seen only the disability, not the boy. Montgomery Tower shimmered like a fortress of privilege. Diana's navy skirt and second-hand blouse looked tragically out of place against the marble and chrome, but she held her chin high. "Diana Johnson, here to see Mr. Montgomery." The receptionist eyed her like a misplaced box. 18th floor, Miss Winters will escort you." Miss Winters was precise, polished, and cold. Her heels echoed with authority. "He had you fired, didn't he?" Winters asked in the hallway. "No." "He should have." "Why?" "Employees like you don't know their place." Diana smiled. "And where would that be, exactly?" Before Winters could reply, the door opened. Richard Montgomery's office overlooked Manhattan like a throne above the kingdom. He didn't turn when Diana entered. "Please, sit." Silence stretched. "Do you have a background?" "Excuse me?" "College, education." "Bachelor's in child development, incomplete master's in special education." He raised an eyebrow. "You work as a waitress?" "I work 3 jobs, waitress, bookstore clerk, tutor when I can." He opened a folder. "I did some digging." Inside were photos of a dance program, Freedom Steps. "You co-founded this." "With my sister, for children with physical disabilities." "And it's about to close, no funding." I didn't come to ask you for money. Then why did you come? You invited me. Richard laughed, a dry, joyless sound. I want to hire you. As a waitress in your home? No, as a therapeutic companion for Lucas. Diana studied him. He looked powerful, but under the suit, lost. No. His eyes narrowed. Excuse me? I don't work for people who see only my skin before my skills, and your son doesn't need another expert. He needs someone who will follow his pace. She rose, pulled a card from her purse. Freedom Steps, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4 p.m. First class is free if you're brave enough to show up. Wednesday. A Bentley idled outside a crumbling community center in the Bronx. He's not coming in, Zoe whispered. Don't underestimate a determined child, Diana said. Lucas emerged slowly, adjusting his brace. Then, to everyone's shock, Richard followed. The studio buzzed with movement. Kids in wheelchairs spun. Others danced with prosthetics or walkers. It looks chaotic, Richard muttered. There's structure, just not the kind you're used to. Dr. Elaine Mercer, a retired Harvard neuroscientist, arrived minutes later. Mr. Montgomery, you've rejected my proposals 3 times. You're involved in this? I oversee it. We're studying how autonomy in movement reshapes the brain. You're telling me this dance class is neuroscience? Diana approached. Freedom Steps is a rehabilitation pilot, and yes, it's based on neuroplasticity. I was Dr. Mercer's co-author. Richard's jaw clenched. You knew who I was that night. I did. Was it staged? No, Lucas chose to stand. I chose to follow. As cameras flashed, the press had arrived. Lucas stepped into the center of the room and removed one of his braces. Lucas! Richard lunged, but Diana stopped him. Watch. Lucas took a shaky, unsupported step. Then another. The room erupted in applause. Richard's stoic mask cracked. Tears burned in his eyes. You used my son to prove a point, he accused Diana. No, he proved it himself. I just refused to let the world ignore it. A reporter shoved a mic toward Richard. Mr. Montgomery, is it true you denied this program funding? Richard looked at Lucas, beaming, free, and then back at the reporter. You know what's hardest for someone in my position? He said, voice steady. Admitting when we're wrong. Gasps, flashes. The Montgomery Foundation will fund Freedom Steps for 5 years and build a permanent center. Zoe choked back a cry. On one condition, Richard added. Diana Johnson retains full autonomy, no corporate oversight. Diana blinked. She hadn't expected that. Richard extended his hand. This time, I follow your lead. 6 months later, the new Freedom Steps Center opened. Lucas, now walking with only a cane, led a routine with 3 other children, his movements imperfect but powerful. Richard sat quietly in the back. Diana stood beside him. He doesn't need you to hold him anymore, she said. No, Richard replied, eyes on his son, but he still needs me to be there. That's the difference. When asked by reporters what he'd learned, Richard didn't hesitate. True leadership isn't about guiding people down the path you believe is right. It's having the courage to follow when someone shows you a better way.